1700s, all right, you should know that that was the Civil War, all right? You don't have to memorize exactly, it was 1861 to 65, but just having a general idea of when that occurred. If I were to ask you right now, which war took place in the late 1700s, do you think of the American Revolutionary War? All right, just stuff like that. And again, the GED testing service says it's not a memorization test. All right, so you don't have to memorize these exact dates. But in my opinion, it's only going to help you to have a general idea of when the wars were fought. All right, I'm not trying to trick you or confuse you. Sometimes when I talk about memorizing, is this a memorization test and things to know, people get confused. And so I'm just basically telling you, in my opinion, there's some things that would be good to know ahead of time going into your test. All right, but the testing service claim it's not a memorization test. Which of the following is false based on the data shown in the graph? So right here we see the graphs. It says female senators in the U.S. Congress versus session of Congress. And so on our Y or our up and down axis, we see female senators in the U.S. Congress. And down here on our horizontal axis, we see the session of Congress ranging from 102 to 108. So the answer choice is A. From session 105 to 106, the number of female senators stayed the same. B. From session 106 to 108, the number of female senators increased. C. Overall, from session 102 to 108, the number of female senators increased. Or D. From session 104 to 106, the number of female senators decreased. So let's have you pause the video, try this question out, and then when you're ready, we'll go over how to do this. And if you get stuck, don't worry, because we're just going to go over how to do it. Okay, so let's talk about this question here. So let me show you kind of a method that you can use. You might be able to just look at this question, look at the graph, and get this right. But if you had a little trouble with this, let me give you kind of a method you can use here. So let's go one by one down the answer choices. So A, from session 105 to 106. So answer choice A is making a statement about sessions, what's happening between sessions 105 to 106. So if this is 104 and this is 106, we're going to assume that 105 is going to be about here, right? Roughly between 104 and 106. I would say that that's right about right here. Okay. And 106 is right here. So what I'm trying to do here, and obviously you won't be able to draw these black bars on a test like this, okay? But the point is that, for this answer, to verify if A is true or false, we can ignore everything on the graph over here. 106 to 108, the number of female senators increased. So where do you think I'm going to look on the graph here? Well, I'm going to look between 106, which is right here, and 108, which is over here. And again, you're not going to be able to draw on the test, all right? But I'm just trying to kind of give you a method, just so that you can hopefully get more questions right. Now, if you already have a method that you use to answer these questions that's working for you, stick with it. But what we can see here, if we use this method here, we just want to focus on what's going on between 106 to 108. The line goes up and keeps going up, so we would say that yes, there's an increase during this time period. So both A and B are true. C, overall from session 102 to 108, the number of female senators increased. So we start down here at 102, and over here is 108. So really this question is asking us about the entire graph here, okay? So if I bring my little stick figure in for another guest appearance here, okay, what we see here is that if you start at 102, the stick figure is going to go up and keep going up and keep going up. And then right here, the stick figure is just going to be walking in a straight line, either up or down. All right. But then again, once they get to the 106th session, they'd be going up and up. So the reason that some people, perhaps maybe if you thought C was the right answer, maybe I'm thinking it's because you looked at this little part of the graph that had no change and you said, well, there's a part of the graph right between sessions 105 to 106 where there's no change occurring. So therefore C is a false statement, so C is the right answer. Okay, well actually the word overall is key here, all right? The question though is asking us overall. So even though there's this one little time period where there was no change in the number of female senators, mostly here, all right, mostly or overall, we see that the number kept increasing. So C is a true statement, so I could take C out because again, we want to figure out which of the following is false. So by process of elimination, we know that D must be the correct answer. But also, if we look at between 104 and 106, all right, the graph is going up, and then it flatlines right here. We don't see a decrease going on, okay? So we don't see anything like this. We don't see any decrease going on. A decrease would look like this. The blue line would go like this, all right? And the stick figure person going from left to right would be running down a hill. That would be a decrease, which we don't see on this graph. Okay, so D is a false statement, meaning it's the correct answer here. Okay, so I know this question kind of throws a lot at you here, and once you between the 102nd to 107th sessions of Congress, rounded to the nearest 10. So in other words, you have to look at all of the sessions of Congress from 102 to 107. So in other words, all of these sessions of Congress, and tell me what is the mean, round it to the nearest 10. All right, you can use your calculator if you want to. So let's have you pause the video. If you want to, try this out, and when you're ready, we'll go over how to do it. Okay, so the mean just means the average, and some students are sometimes surprised when they come across math questions on GED Social Studies, but mean, median, mode, and range questions do come up on GED Social Studies, so you do need to know how to solve these. Now, by learning how to solve these questions, you're actually increasing your odds of passing math and science as well, because mean, median, mode, and range are fair game for science, math, and social studies. Now, I know some GED instructors have their students go over mean, medium, and range questions every single week just because it shows up so many times. Now, that may or may not be overkill for you, but the point I want to make here is that these questions are really important and they do show up on social studies. So all you want to do to solve them is you want to take all of the numbers that are in our data set here. Okay, so it's asking us about the number of female senators. What I want to do is take my 2, take my 6, take my 8, all right, take my 9, and my other 9, and my 13.
Strayer University helps you earn your